welcome back again to another video. What an absolutely insane game last night between the Rays and Dodgers, and an even more insane ending. So, we'll get into it because it's one of the only pieces of sports that happened last night, and a little bit of NHL news at the end that we'll always get to. Just want to tell you that I'm working on a Buffalo Sabres team and roster overview, including the prospects today, and that'll come out later tonight. We're going to get right into it. Starting off with the series coming in was a 2-1 advantage for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Rays looking to tie it up, Dodgers looking to get it 3-1 and have a stranglehold. And just as I said, Justin Turner had to stay hot. He came out of the gates right away with a solo home run, showing that his bat is still hot and he's been great in the World Series. The game, honestly, was just a back and forth shift of momentum, home runs, everything you could have wanted from this baseball game. This game is probably just a perfect example of the way that baseball is today. Almost no bunting, not a lot of singles, just going for the long ball. And when you get into the World Series and to really tough situations where you have to get runs on the board, you're asking your players to go for the long ball, which can be a game where you're not getting much done, but in this case, it showed that the long ball definitely has value, and they need to go for it in games like this. All right. The game started off after the Justin Turner home run with a strike him out, throw him out play against the Rays, and it went under review, and they were checking to see if Arozarena was actually safe at second. It turns out he was, and that ended the inning there. Next up, we had Mookie Betts just again showing off not easy athleticism, but to him, his body can do it easily. The ball, he didn't get the best jump off it, and it was going over his head, and he leaped, and it was just a little bit behind him, but he made a great play and just showed off his vertical jumping and how he knows where the ball is and where it's coming from. And again, he's going to be close to maybe playoff MVP or World Series MVP, in my opinion, if the Dodgers go on to win. Next up, Seager had a solo shot, tied it at 1-1, and Arozarena also stayed hot. He's still setting the record there for the rookie homer record, and Brandon Lau of the Rays continues to stay hot and got hot at the right time. Kevin Cash asked him to just try to make contact with the baseball, and I think he's simplifying his approach a little bit more, which is causing him to get doubles in the gap and also home runs. So there's going to be ups and downs, but I think he probably went over a lot of film and had a lot of conversations with the hitting coach saying, like, I want to get this fixed now, because there might have been no tomorrow to get it fixed if he stayed cold for another few days. Next, Max Muncy got a hit, and it was 3-1 LA, drove in the runner from second, and Hunter Renfroe answered immediately with his own homer. Again, another solo shot, no guys on base, just going straight for the home run. And Renfroe is known for more of a home run guy. And Renfroe, even though he was on San Diego last year, him just coming over and a lot of people not knowing much about him in the AL East, he's a really good player. They said he had some issues out in the outfield, but I mean, if he can get some more consistency at the plate, he's a really solid player. And he's shown that he can be a solid player in some pretty tough situations, especially in playoff games when they need him. Next was Kiki Hernandez. He made it 4-2 with his own RBI and got Los Angeles up again. And like I said, back and forth, switching leads. And that was when Brandon Lau came in and hit his own 3-run homer, which actually gave the Rays a 5-4 lead. Just want to talk about Kevin Kiermeier for a second again. I know we've talked about him a lot throughout the CS and the World Series, but they were saying on the broadcast, and I did know this before, that he was a late-round pick, but a 31st round pick he was. And I want to know the story behind what the scouts were thinking and everything, and how they knew that. Well, I'm sure they didn't know he was going to be their center fielder of the future and Gold Glove winner and coming up clutch in the World Series, but I just want to know, like, what they saw in him and how he stuck around for that long in the organization and when they saw something in him. Because he's been the most loyal Tampa Bay Ray, aside from Evan Longoria, who's now, he got moved to the San Francisco Giants a couple years ago. But Kiermeier never wanted to go anywhere. He was there when they had to shed salary and the talent wasn't as good and when the prospect pool wasn't as good. But Tampa Bay always has a way of finding ways to make their farm system good enough to make players want to stay and say, hey, in a couple years we think we're going to be good. And just props to Kevin Kiermeier. He's an absolute... You look at loyalty, he's one of the most loyal players in all of Major League Baseball, and I think he's going to retire a Tampa Bay Ray. Next up was Seager scores Taylor from second, and that made it 7-6 LA. So again, another lead swap after that Lau homer. And so next up, they brought in a pinch hitter, Phillips off the bench for the Tampa Bay Rays, and like they said on the broadcast, they made it very simple. They said they're asking for the biggest hit of his life, and that's what he did. So it wasn't the winning hit that got Phillips the credit. It was he tied the game, and that's all it should have been. But defensive replacement in right field was Chris Taylor, and Mookie Betts wasn't out in right anymore. And Taylor flubbed the ball. He threw it home, and I don't know if it was the catcher's fault or anything, but it got away from him. Arozarena was actually caught between third and home, and he looked like a dead duck at that point. But he saw the ball got away, took his opportunity, went home, and the Rays won it. So one of the most crazy back-and-forth games probably in the last couple of years in the playoffs, and especially the World Series. This play, the Phillips play and everything, reminds me a lot of last year when, in the wild card game, Juan Soto was facing Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers, and it should have only been a 2-run double to tie the game, but Trent Grisham in right field, who was replacing the injured Christian Yelich, which it might have been the difference if he was in right field and healthy, he missed the ball completely, and that ended up giving the Nats the lead. So really close play, but just a little different. The error was at home and in right field instead of just in right field. So I think that just shows that guys who would usually not make those mistakes, it's just the pressure cooker, the nerves and energy of the World Series and what's on the line. It's different from a regular season game of, okay, I'm just going to field the ball, throw home. If he makes it, oh well, and they win it, oh well, it's the regular season. But different thoughts go through their head when they're approaching that ball, and you could see what happened. Taylor, he went to go get the ball, and you could see he was already thinking throwing home, and he didn't quite finish his action and thought of fielding the ball. And that's where his hand kind of got ahead of his brain, but that he made a good throw home. It was the catcher that just missed it and dropped it. So that is the difference. That's the difference between getting a Arozarena out and forcing extras, and maybe we're talking today about the Dodgers having a 3-1 series lead, but that's what cost them, and now it's 2-2. I still am sticking with the Dodgers winning, but the Rays are also executing on everything that they could have been asked for, so I won't be surprised if the Rays are the ones that take the series. And they're so exciting right now, and it's just, if we get another game like this tonight, there's not much more you can ask for. All right, final score was 8-7, and now the World Series is tied at 2-2. We're going to move on to just two pieces of NHL news. Sam Reinhart of the Buffalo Sabres has signed 1 year, $5.2 million extension. I do think he's worth $5.2 million annually for sure. He has the talent. He's definitely part of the leadership core, the young leadership core in Buffalo. And I do believe he's doing this as a prove himself year, as a bridge contract, and all he needs to have is one great year. And I think he's seeing Taylor Hall coming in, possibility of playing with him and Jack Eichel on a line. And if he can get those numbers up, he's definitely going to, since he'll be a restricted free agent, he's going to have that payday. I could totally see him getting his payday, and he's definitely worth it, even though he was a little longer-term project, and he was a top 3 pick. He's deserving of it, and I could see him being the reason why Buffalo turns around if they have a successful offensive season. I won't talk about Buffalo too much because that's what I'm doing later today. We'll get more into Sam Reinhart tonight and the rest of the Buffalo Sabres. It's going to be a fun video to do, especially since they're a division rival with the Leafs. A lot of interesting matchups and losses and wins between them. Just it's always great when they play. So the last piece of news is former Toronto Maple Leaf and most recently Vancouver Canuck Josh Leivo just signed a 1-year, $875,000 contract with the Calgary Flames. Again, the Flames need forward depth all the time. They're pretty good at producing it on their own, but Leivo's been a proven. He has a great shot, and good on the penalty kill. Sometimes second power play unit. He was more on the power play units when he was on more of a thin offensive team. I see him getting a lot less power play time with the Calgary Flames because they have a more established offensive core than the Vancouver Canucks did, and that's nothing against like Pettersson or Besser. That's just beyond that. It was a little more thin. That's everything for this video right now. I hope you guys liked my new intro and the little editing bits that I do. Just any feedback would be good. If you guys want to see something different with it, less music, anything, I'll take any suggestions. But it's been really fun doing all this, and I'm excited to be doing the Buffalo Sabres video tonight. It's always fun looking up the prospects, looking up some deeper stats, and I'll try to dig up some more deeper stats just to have some more content. But that is everything for this one. I hope you guys all enjoy Game 5 of the World Series tonight on at 8 o'clock. What's it going to be, 3-2 Rays or 3-2 Dodgers? What are we going to be talking about tomorrow morning? It's going to be exciting, and I hope it's just as exciting as tonight, and I wouldn't expect anything less, especially from these two teams. So, thanks everyone for coming by. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you guys later tonight.